Playing EC every day is like eating and flying. Hi all, I am Brother Shi, and today I bring you a big horizontal comment without a breaking news. Today's horizontal comments are still 4 dimensions: playability, practicality, workmanship, and good cost performance. Let's start the first rating, that is, the score of playability. Let's start with this second generation of human. First of all, these 4 knives all use this common shrapnel type line positioning device. Then realize the feedback of the opening and closing feel of this knife. Then this second generation of Tiger Ben is undoubtedly these 4. The one with the best opening and closing feel among folding knives, including this setting that it pushes and twists, the tightness of the shrapnel in its line position. This allows the knife to get feedback similar to a folding knife when opening and closing. Both the sound and the tremor are very good. I have evaluated this knife before. I won't comment too much here. What are the disadvantages? It is he who only has this suggestion to open a quick opening mode. There is no such scalability. There is only such a scattering hole. There is no room for DIY on the back clip push and twist. So this knife has a comprehensive score in terms of playability. I think I can get an 8.5 points. Okay, let's take a look at the second knife, which is a new art of unobstructed knife. It was made of Yangji to make a carving of this kind of dragon. It is also very beautiful and lifelike. This knife has 2 quick opening modes, one is front and the other is push cutter hole. The overall operating feedback is at a moderately weak level. But no matter how hard we go, we can't demand more from it. And this knife also doesn't have any scalability because it has a front. However, its overall blade is made relatively thin, so the grip of this knife is actually not particularly ideal, especially when you want to do this kind of pre-surgery. A little bit of this cautious feeling. I think overall I can only get a 7.5 points. Then there is the handicraft. Handmade is the hottest knife in our EDC circle. I think this jackknife is relatively playable. The first is a push knife hole of this kind. Then there is a front feedback that is good for both types of surgeries. This knife has strong scalability. We can see that this piece can be equipped with a clip, including what kind of pusher button does it have, the bottom bone, a lot of modifications. I think the playability of this knife is still very high. So overall, I think this knife can get a 9. And finally, this P from Seeger. He said that it is a factory product, which we commonly call illegal goods. I think this knife is quite interesting. A single of this. Do you say it's front or back? Anyway, it's such a single button. Whether it's this way or this way. Including we can open it upside down. So there is still some playability of this knife, its feedback. Because the overall structural design of this knife is only 2 layers of skin. So its opening experience is actually not very good. But this knife actually has a standard, the back clip of the hole. It is also possible to do some such modifications. And you can see that this knife is very plain. We can do some burning and some of this kind of yang urgency. It's all okay, so I think this knife is all about it. This playability can give him an 8-part copy. Okay, this is the final score of our 4 knives in terms of playability. Next, we will make a practicality rating. Why do you want to give a practical score this time? Because this is uncoverable. Everyone buys it and carries it with them. So what about carrying it? You will inevitably have to use it. So when we test this and get nothing, just add a practical score. Okay, let's look at it from this Tiger boredom. The second generation of Tiger White is a standard pencil sharpener shape. Basically, it's a big screen film. Then this piece has made such a Kaiway beautification design a little. Although this kind of large screen film knife is not good looking, it is very practical. Friends who have used it know it. Whether you do this kind of cutting, or do this kind of cutting, the action of elimination, including sharpening an apple or a pencil. This knife is very, very useful. And his biscuit has no special design. It is basically a normal grip. There is also no such situation of each hand. If you drop a rope under you, a 1.85 meter tall northern man like Brother Shi, his grip distance is just right. I think one of his practicalities. I can give him 9 copies of this knife, and then I will make this knife by hand. I think this knife is more inclined to toys. What about its practicality? It may not be that strong. So its tough shape. You can see that it is a tough shape of this curve. This kind of knife is okay on cutting, but if you're going to do some of this, the action of sharpening apples and sharpening pencils may not be so useful. And there is another problem with this knife, that is, it cannot teed the knife. The handle itself is relatively short. When I held it, I feel a little unable to hold it. But where is it beneficial? It lies in its big eyes. We can use this knife by stuck our hands on this piece. So when we do some particularly extreme and delicate operations, we are closer to this blade. This action can be completed more refinedly. So the practicality of this knife in general. You can give an 8th point, and then this knife of chinois art. This knife is the most piercing among these blade shapes. Its blade angle is the smallest, and it is also a curved blade of this kind. And this knife is its handle. It's not that it's particularly comfortable to hold, this hook on its side. What about your hand? Do you put it on a finger? You lean down. You put 2 fingers and you can't put them down. So I think this knife is overall, its practicality. You can only get a buffer and then finally a bend that is stuffed. The practicality of this set. I think it should be in a better state among these knives. First of all, he made this kind of prosthetic blade in front of him to ensure that he had a piercing nature. Although this opening area is not as high as that Tiger Run. However, his opening area is also enough for us to do some cutting movements. When we are going to do the cutting action, we can also pinch it, and the pusher hole is also very close to the blade. And it's very comfortable. But what about this knife? My suggestion is yes, you should also make a leash. So I think this knife can be given a score of 9.5 overall. Okay, these are these 4 knives. A final score in this aspect of practicality. Okay, let's make the 3rd score, which is the score of this workmanship. Let's look at the Tiger Run first. The Tiger Run knife is a cake. Plus the blade of this M390. There is a small shaped cake on the punishment. This 2nd generation also said before. He made a pseudo-pie upgrade. But what about this overall knife? Its details. It is a knife at this price, about 400 yuan. Don't expect too much from him. In terms of comprehensive comparison with these knives, I think this can get an 8th. Then look at this handicraft. This is undoubtedly the best workmanship among several knives. First of all, this blade is made on top and on the bottom. This kind of kaiwei is a concave membrane with such a little knife. A concave membrane blade was made. This is very rare, including the kind of drawing effect he did on it. These knives don't have this kind of hole in this cake. Do this kind of ridge design, this sense of design, including its workmanship. There is no doubt about it. It's the best of several knives, and I think I can get a 9.5 points. Then there is this journalistic art, this knife. Journalism art. This knife is also the blade of Taipingjia M390. Then this blade also made some shapes, but it is a design with an empty backbone. Then I also do this kind of anode engraving, which is very beautiful. You can see it. I think it's very meticulous, and the comprehensive performance is similar to handicraft. But he didn't do a backbone and scored 0.5 points, I think 7.5 points. Then there is this stuffed P. This knife is also the blade of the M390 with a large handle. Below it is M390, because I haven't tested it either. Let's not raise the bar. The structure of this knife is actually very simple, so there is no problem with workmanship. The entire handle and blade have the effect of this practice. I think this knife is very simple. Including what it does, it's not very good. But don't you think this knife is cheap? Hey, I think this is one of the design skills, and the other is the handling of this internship. This knife has a particularly high overall consistency. So the overall workmanship of this knife, I think I can get 8 points. Like who won? Okay, these are these 4 knives. The final score at the workmanship level. Finally, let's make our cost-effective rating, or start with this 2nd generation of Tiger Ben. This knife is priced at 400 yuan. Just now I also said that M390's Renentai and Jin's cake made this kind of moving cake design. It had this generation before and was priced at more than 200. I added 100 yuan to upgrade some things, and I think it's still good. 10 points of cost performance is 300 yuan. I think this cost performance can be scored at 9.5 points. Then look at this handicraft. The handmade version of this ice crystal is 1,200 yuan. It's really a bit expensive. Is this still the current price? At this crazy time, the price will be higher in the secondary market. If I ask him to give him a very cost-effective price, I think this knife is very cost-effective at 600 yuan. I think the overall score can only be a 6, and then the art of journalism. This knife is priced at more than 200 yuan. I think this is also quite cost-effective. 390 blades and gold cakes. Although there is no stock preparation, but it's cheap. So I think this knife gets a 9.5 out of 5. Borrowed. This is a P. It is about a price of about 400 yuan. Because we can't judge whether his tenacity is the real 390. I think even if it's really 390, this knife is still a bit expensive for 400 yuan. I think his price is about 250, about 60 yuan. So I can only give it an 8.5 points for the cost performance of this knife. This is the final score of our 4 knives in terms of cost performance. Finally, let's use one more sentence. To sum up, let's talk about these 4 knives first. I think this knife has the best feedback of the 4 knives. Plus, its cost-effectiveness and workmanship. I think it is a good knife handmade that is recommended for beginners as a beginner in 2025. This phenomenal EDC has no knife in the knife. I think it is more suitable for you to have a certain financial strength. Then love this EDC toy very much. Players who have relatively high requirements for this texture. After eating clothes, the knife is the lowest among these knives. I think if you don't want to spend too much money and want to buy one EDC knife that can be carried around, this knife is also an option worth considering. Finally, there is the Sager knife. I think this knife is more quaint. It is very in line with the aesthetic standards of this old knife ring gun. The price is not cheap. However, I don't think there are too many similar competitors. Players who like it can also get started. Okay, that's all we have for today. Playing EDC every day is like eating West Africa. What else do you want to see? You can leave me a message in the comment area. I'm Brother Shi, see you next time.